All right, welcome everybody to week two open live stream. And what I'm going to do in this live stream is kind of talk about. I thought I changed my title earlier, but I guess I did not. So the title that I just did change is definitely Scary and Exciting Times. And that title was actually designed for our seniors. So I wanted to spend a quick little moment, just kind of do a little talk of something that I let all of my seniors kind of know. This was their last week, so my seniors are done. They are out and away from school, and now on to some scary and exciting times. And that's the way I like to, really put it, because it's definitely something exciting. A lot of students, they look forward to this time of their life where they're done with school, they're done listening to teachers, they're done following rules, and they're like, all right, I'm ready for this. And then on the other side of the token, it's like, oh, this is scary. I have people that have been holding me accountable and guiding me um, into places that I needed to go to, like give me these best practices. And now those people are not going to be there anymore. And I am going to need to hold myself accountable for a lot of different things. And that's good. That's good news. I mean, but that's also some scary for a lot of students, because a lot of students haven't had that opportunity or had to do that for themselves before. So, you know, as I tell my students to look forward, I mean, all the time and effort that they put into up to this point was really just preparing them for now, the time that we have now unleashed them into this real world. So I really hope that for all of you that are seniors or maybe are graduating here very, very shortly, then to just keep your head high, because it is kind of crazy. I did have to adjust my little talk I did. Typically, I'd always, address my seniors, and this time I didn't get to address them because it's literally just been a bye bye via an email. Now, I do have a small subset of seniors, so I was able to at least individually kind of reach out to them and wish them the very best. But yeah, it's definitely been something that there's one side of me is very sad because they got to miss out on a lot of the activities and events that a lot of other seniors obviously have had, like including myself. But in the same side, also is pretty excited for them, because I think, with every setback, there's always some opportunities, and what they have had to go through, and this craziness that we are going through, because obviously there's much more serious things that are going on around the world. But I think that's just also put some things in perspective that other classes and other people have not really had that opportunity. When they graduated, went on to school, and just kind of life was what it was. Um, but now you kind of look at this, what they've had to endure and what they've had to go through. That puts things in a little bit different perspective as far as moving on to the next steps into college, or moving into what they're going to be doing in jobs and everything like that. So it's going to be interesting, obviously, how things play out. And, but I think that a lot that we as a society have been working through, I think is going to be something that the seniors, it's something they're going to be look back to and see it's really going to be something that has going to make some changes, and hopefully everything is going to be for the better. So, but anyways, it is definitely some scary and exciting times, and I wish all of you that are graduating the very best. Couple things: to keep working hard and stay curious. I think those are the two paramount ideas that I like to abide by. It doesn't matter what's really going on, outside of the world. If you keep on working hard, it can always show people that you are a hard worker. Or when you are competing in business or anything else, work standalones. I mean, it shows when you're putting in the time and effort into something. And the other thing is staying curious, just not being complacent with how things are, and really trying to want to keep on learning and understanding, how things work, how to get better, and everything like that. So I think those are, if there's two pieces of advice I can give you, is that keep on working hard and stay curious. Otherwise, for those of you that are still back in school or still have a couple more weeks in school, like my students, we have, I think, about 3 more weeks. We'll be finishing up here before June. We still have some work to do. So that's why I will be here for you guys. I'm still going to continue doing my open live streams throughout the summer for any of you guys that are taking any summer classes. But anyways, just wanted to hop on in and say hello to Devin, Willie, Kriti, Jew. How are you guys doing? Semi, I am doing very well. Thank you so much, guys, for adding in. Alexa, Justine. One of my math classes. That's kind of weird. Edna, Nature, good to see you. Brian, do you miss your classroom? I do very much miss my classroom. I mean, right now this is like my classroom as it is in my studio. And even though I've been recording videos, for the last 10 years, it's been much more enjoyable to record a video when you go into school and kind of still teach that lesson. But now the fact that I'm only teaching lessons in front of a computer and camera, I do really, really miss the classroom. And I also just think it's the natural communication tool, rather than just even talking on the phone or talking to people, via online. It's just not the same. Well, especially with students, when you're trying to, really, you have those certain relationships that, are bonded from that in the classroom setting. And it's really hard to kind of continue that, in this online format. All right. Haitian, yes. So anyways, before I get into the open Q&A, guys, just to kind of let you know or just a little bit of a reminder for you guys, I've really kind of changed the format of the open Q&A. I always like to kind of start off with just a couple of 10 minutes, and I do apologize, guys, for being a little late this time. But, just kind of doing a little 10, 15 minutes of checking in with you guys, and then I will do some kind of open Q&A. These are all questions that were actually submitted to me on my Google Forms. So if you guys noticed, I do apologize. I know I was late. But the nice thing about the Google form is if I don't get to it, I can keep it there and then add it to my next live stream. So I did have to delete some of the questions because I didn't know what the question was actually needing me to talk about. So when you guys do the Google form, if you are asking a question, please try to be as specific as possible what it is you actually want me to address. And I will be more than happy to kind of look into it. Tonight was a little bit rough just because I didn't really have time to look at things. A lot of times I like to, do a little bit of preparing. But literally tonight I got in like 10 minutes before the live stream started. I just had to breeze through, write down as many questions as I possibly could to look at them. So I'm probably not going to get as in depth of these answers just because I didn't have time to like kind of look through them and identify what it is I really want to address. So that's a little FYI, but on the Google form, I make this in my, on the community post, when I let you guys remind you I'm going live for this Sunday, I put a link in there. You can also go to Discord, and I apologize, guys. I just got late. I did not have into Discord, or I didn't have time to check any questions on Discord. But the cool thing about Discord is everybody really answers everybody's questions. So I've really noticed a lot of the times that I was trying to use Discord, wasn't actually working out for what I needed because people are just helping each other out. And every single question that got asked, people are answering it. So I really do appreciate you guys that are in the community on Discord answering each other's questions. I'm still trying to get myself in there and see what I can do to help you guys out. But yeah, you can definitely post questions in there and also help people questions in there. That is another way for you guys to get some help in there. And also want to let you guys know that I am also going through, I'll be finishing off. This is my first month of my new membership. So I have 2 videos that I'm going through. And then I have some new content that I'm working on, some new videos, because obviously I've had to adapt to being away from the classroom. But that is something that I am not unleashing onto the YouTube, at least as of yet, or at least all my videos. So I am doing some of those new content videos that are only going to be into the membership form. So if you're kind of interested in that or supporting on that way, I'd love to have you over there. You guys can kind of see what I am working on as far as doing some private live streams and also releasing some content that I am not releasing right now from my classroom. So, but hopefully I will get back into the classroom next year. I'm hoping, and I will still kind of continue to do some classroom videos. But I also took away from this time is also made me realize that, I need to adjust the content that I'm making. You can't just always rely on being inside the classroom. So those are some things that I am definitely working on, and I want to share it with you members first, but I do appreciate you guys, all of your support, especially even if that's supporting watching my videos or joining me on a live stream. So as far as the questions that I'm going to cover tonight, you can also submit your question and your name so I can give you a shout out. And if you have a handle, then like a Twitter or an Instagram handle, then I'll adjust that too. But here we have, Allie has one that is, I think it was like the total length. And so I don't remember the question fully because she uploaded it to me, but I'll try to at least adjust what you need to do in this case. And then we have Ohm said, talk about the limits of a piecewise graph. So this was a piecewise function. I don't remember what the graph was. I'm not able to, retake it, but I can at least address the evaluating the limit based on a piecewise function. So I'll talk about that. Harshdeep asked a question about writing the equation. Writing the equation and with the given slope, or the equation of the tangent line. That was it. Write the equation of the tangent line through the given point 3, 4. So in this case, what we'll need to do is go ahead and find the derivative of that equation and go from there. So I will at least help the student. I think they wanted to at least know how to find the derivative. And so I'd wanted to kind of work through the equation line, and it's just been a while going through it. So I'm probably not going to do the whole problem, but I'll at least be able to get the equation of the square root function. And the last one is cancellation algebraically. So the student, I think, was talking about dividing out terms, cancellation. So we'll kind of see where that takes us. And then if any of you guys are jumping in and you have number 5, if there's any other additional questions that you guys would like to ask, we'll kind of see what I can fit in at the end. All right, before I get started in here, let's see if you could start solving GMAT math question. Solving GMAT. I'd have to look that up. I'm not familiar with that. Hi, Maribon. Hi, Streamer. Hi, Kriti. Nervin, Justine. Good to see you guys. Awesome. Yay, finals this week. I know it's so crazy you guys are going through finals. They canceled our finals for my class. I mean, I'm only teaching pre-calculus. So I know a lot of you guys had the, or at least the AP, tests were going in as scheduled. It's just crazy from in there. Connor, it depends on a student. Oh, yeah, I definitely think, Connor, it's all up to the student. I think there's some classes that definitely should be online, and there's definitely some classes that can be online and students will learn online perfectly fine. And then there's also classes that students need to be inside the classroom and they need to be seen every day. For instance, I was the math student that I needed to see math often. So like, for instance, when I was in college, you have the option. Some of the math courses were like, or this one math course, it might've been like once a week or for 3 hours. And then there was another class that would have been twice a week for an hour and a half. And then you had the other one that was like 4 times a week, which was for 45 minutes. So it was all the same amount of time, but it just mattered like how often you're seeing it. And every single time that they had a math class that we would meet more often, I would always choose that one, because as far as like my attention span and for me to be able to see math more consistently helped me learn. And so I think, for a majority of students, that is true. But it's not true for everybody. A lot of students, they could probably be perfectly fine if they were just taking my class online. Give them the notes, let them review it. If they need a little help, they can maybe like join a online live stream, and they basically, besides that, are good to go. Other students, really struggle. That would be the absolute worst thing to do to them. They need to be inside of the classroom, working with other people, asking questions, understanding things. So yeah, I think it, really just kind of depends on the student on there. All right. If you have any tips to make sure I pass 6th grade, I do not have any tips on 6th grade math. I'm not really sure on the 6th grade curriculum, but I think with any math, it's going to be exactly the same. Just keep on practicing and also asking, your questions, why things work. And, don't just assume you know something. Keep on practicing it. And once you understand it, practice a little bit more. Personally, kind of beneficial to me. Yes. All right. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started on this. So week 20, scary and exciting. I don't know why that's up there. Okay. All right. So I wish I had a little bit more time to kind of look back over this, but and prepare. So, but now I know. And so I do appreciate you guys that have all submitted your questions. Next week, I will make sure that I get on. I will say, it wasn't too much of my fault. My kids were up a little bit later than usual, so it did take us a little bit longer to put them to bed. That's why I didn't get to that. But I will try to make sure that I get to these questions earlier, just so I have time to review them and understand them and prepare for the next open Q&A. So I do apologize, guys. And again, if you are submitting questions, be specific what you would like me to address. Even if it's a general process, be like, what is it on the process you'd like me to address? Why is it you want me to address it? The more information that you can provide me, the better I can provide instruction. Because if it's just like adding equation, adding decimals or fractions or whatever else, a lot of times, yeah, I can cover that. But if I have some examples of what type of fractions you want me to cover, or I understand why you're not understanding something, then it's a lot easier for me to address my instruction to make sure that you're going to get the most amount of bang for your buck, to say. So a lot of these that I'm doing are just actually very specific questions, but they could be topics if you guys want to submit them. Just try to be, again, just very detailed on what it is you'd like me to talk about, because there's a lot of questions in there. I just, I saw it, but I'm like, I don't know what they actually want me to address or how I can do that. And again, I only have so much time per question, so I want to make sure that I am giving you the best response in the most efficient manner. Do I have any dividing decimals in story form? I do not believe I do. But you talk about stories. That is something I got to get back on. I got to get back onto my YouTube stories. I made a couple stories at the beginning of the year, and then I just or not the beginning of the year, beginning of this quarantine, and then I stopped doing it. So I got to get back to that. All right. So now on this one, I think the student is trying to find the perimeter of this outside box. All right. And something with the word problem, again, word problems, if I have to read a lot or the word problems, guys, that's just a good way for me not to get to your question, just because, as I mentioned, time is of the essence. So I did see a couple word problems that came by my way. And I'm like, guys, I just don't have time to not only read the question, but also even to re-put it back on to share with you guys. So unfortunately, I can only really cover questions that is going to be easy for me to replicate. However, if you do have those type of questions, put them on Discord. People have time to help you out, and people want to help you out. So that is a great avenue for you guys. All right. But this question was saying something. Here's the perimeter. Here is this perimeter here, but it has a scale factor. Now it has a scale factor. It goes from 6. It adds an extra 3 inches here. So basically all we need to do is go ahead and find the scale factor, or I'm sorry, find what we need to multiply. So this side length was at 6. We're going to multiply by some scale factor k to get us to 9, right? Because 6 plus 3 is 9. So the old length is 6. The new length is 9. What are we multiplying it by? So let's just solve for k. So k is going to be 3 halves. Now, I think it was asking for what is the new perimeter. Now, the cool thing about the new perimeter is that is a length. So it's using the same dimensions, a two-dimension shape or two-dimensional distance. So therefore, we can just find the perimeter of the original shape. So I'll say the perimeter of the original, and that's going to be 8 plus 6 plus 14. So that's going to be 20, 28, so that's going to equal 36. Okay. And then what we can basically do here, and again, this is going off of my understanding of geometry. It's been a while, but since we're both dealing with this length here, this distance, we can just multiply our original times our new scale factor. Now, you couldn't do this if this was like going from perimeter to area or to surface area, but you could either multiply every single side length by 3/2 or just find the perimeter and then multiply that by 3/2. So that's going to be, let's see, that will divide out. So it'd be 18 times 3, and that's going to equal a 54. And I guarantee if you multiply 8, 8, 14, and 6 by 3/2, add them all up, you would get 54 as well. It is 108. Oh, so that was the answer? 108. Did I multiply? Wrong? Well, I guess let's go ahead and work that out. So 8. So if I did 8 times 3/2, that's going to equal 12. So that would be 12. 14 times 3/2. That's going to be 7, so that'd be 21. And then we'd have 6 times 3/2 equals 9. So if I'm adding up those, 30, that would give me 24. So again, I'm actually not going to make any justifications. I could be seeing this problem incorrectly, definitely. But as far as I'm understanding it, or at least doing it on my quick thing, then that would be your answer. But if there's not, or if I made a mistake, then please go ahead and post it down in the comments and let's go and take a look at it. All right, this one was presented by Ohm as far as a limit of the piecewise graph. I'm not going to be able to bring up that piecewise graph, but I'll kind of show you something, what his graph looked like. So it looks something like that. Let's see, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the limit as x approaches -2. And let's just call this f of x. And then let's talk about the limit as x approaches, let's say 4 of f of x. Okay, so it's very important when you're dealing with limits that you understand the limit is looking at the value that the function f of x is approaching as x is approaching a given number, in this case, -2. So as x, the x values is getting closer and closer to -2, what is the value that the function is approaching? Now again, this is very important to understand. We're looking for the value the graph is approaching, not what the actual value is of the graph. So if you look at the limit at -2, you can see that the graph from the left here is approaching, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. From the left, you can see that the graph is approaching -4. However, from the right, you can see the graph is approaching 3. So then which one is it? If you're trying to evaluate the limit and the one side's approaching the -4, but the right side is approaching 3, that doesn't make sense because they're not approaching the same value, because the limit has to be a finite number for it to exist. So in this case, you can see this limit does not exist. And that's the same case for number 4, even though, and actually, let me point this out too, also, even though f of -2 is equal to 3, right? The value of the function is 3. However, the limit is what is the graph approaching from the left as well as from the right. So it has to approach that same value from the left as well as from the right. As the limit as x approaches 4 of f of x, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, you can see since they're not approaching the same value from the left and from the right, that does not exist. However, let's kind of have a little bit more fun. X is approaching -2 from the left. So a lot of times when we want to be a little bit more specific on this, then we can talk about general direction. So if I could say limit as x approaches -2, and then if I have this little negative sign, that just means I'm coming in from the left. And the limit as x approaches -2 from the right of f of x. Okay, so let's go and take a look at -2 from the left. So here's -2. As I'm getting closer and closer to -2 from the left, that means from here, you can see that I'm actually approaching a value. It's not equal to -4, but it's approaching the y value or the output value of the function -4. As I approach -2 from the right, you can see that's approaching 3. So the general limit as what is the value of as x approaches -2 from the left and the right does not exist because they are not approaching the same number. but you can do that individually here from the left and from the right. And I'm not sure if the student, that's what they needed help with as x approaches 4 from the left. Let's do that one real quick. And limit as x approaches 4 from the right of fx. Sorry for my notation here. I don't know. Let's make this. So as I'm approaching 4 from the right, you can say, all right, so here's 4. As I'm getting closer and closer from the right hand, it looks like, I don't know, let's just call that -2. And then as I'm approaching 4 from the left-hand side, you can see that's going to get closer and closer to 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll call that +4. So there you go. Hopefully that helps. All right, number 3. This is a huge problem that comes up in calculus, and it's very, very important. And it's very, very important to make sure that you are aware of how to write the equation of the tangent line. It's a very, very important concept, as well as a problem that comes up a lot. And unfortunately, though, it's just been a while. I would have liked to just kind of work through it and just to kind of make sure my instruction is going to be like on point. I'll give you a couple things that you'll want to make sure you know. If you are writing the equation of line, next one, make sure you know the general equation of the line. Okay, so remember, you want to make sure that you can go ahead and when you can write the equation of the line is going to be in this format, and that is going to be for a line through a point, which you can see here. They're giving us a point 3, 4. In addition to that, we also want to go ahead and identify the slope. So remember, like, here's an equation, and let's, I don't know what this equation, let's say it looks like this. If you want to find this tangent line, right, we know that the tangent line is going to represent the derivative. So in this case, we need to be able to, or the slope at that current point is going to be represented by the derivative. So I need to be able to figure out y prime. And I believe this is what the student actually asked as far as how to find the derivative of this. So I'm just going to keep with that. Obviously, you can go ahead and now plug in, evaluate for the slope. But I didn't have time to kind of work this problem, just kind of see if there was any other hiccups I'd like to have mentioned. So I apologize for that. I'll make sure that I get my problems a little bit sooner next time. When you're doing radical functions, what the student was having trouble with, a lot of times it's easier just to kind of think of them as exponents, as a rational power. And there, hopefully you can see, oh, well, now I can just kind of use the power rule for derivatives as well as the chain rule. So again, if you remember chain rule, you're going to bring that forward, 25 minus x squared. So you're going to take the derivative of the outside function, keep the inside function, and then you're going to multiply that times the derivative of the inside function. And again, for calculus people, this is something you are familiar with. And therefore, we could say y prime is, in a simplified version, going to be -2x all over 2 times, let's say, the square root of 25 minus x squared. So that is going to be the equation of the tangent line here. And then what you're going to need to do is figure out what that equation of what is the slope, what is the value of that at this point 3, 4. So therefore, then you can just plug in your input x and 3 to figure out the slope, and then you have your m to go ahead and write the equation for the slope. And I believe I'd have to kind of work through this. It's been a while, but at least there is your derivative using the chain rule. Hopefully that helped. All right, and then Desi. Well, Desi, if it's boring, you don't have to be on the live stream. I apologize for that. All right, number 4, but feel free to join in any other time you need. And yes, Hader, I see your question. I'm not sure what your question is asking me, though. And I'm assuming you're trying to solve, which actually looks like a good one. I could maybe do that. Lulu, school ended because it's awesome. That's why. All right, let's go and talk about cancellation algebraically. I'm not sure what the student was asking. Here's like one of those where it's just very vague. I have really no idea what the student needs help with. But I do know that the question that they asked is very, very related to a lot of the common issues that I see with students. So I am going to address it this way. So 3 divided by 3, x divided by x, x plus, Okay, so we have 3x over 3x, and then x plus 3 over x plus 3. Okay, so cancellation. Now, cancellation is really bad word because things aren't really canceling out. It's really division, right? How many times is 3 divided into 3? Well, 3 divides into 3 one time, right? So a lot of times, you know, we say, oh, that's equal to 1. But you don't see that, right? What do? We draw a line through it and say, oh, it's like done. So like, for instance, here, let's do, I'll put a y there. Let's say I have a 3y over 3. Well, we don't write 3 over 3 is equal to 1. We just say they divide out and equal y. Well, really what happened is 3 divided by 3 equals 1. 1 times y is just y, right? So this is just kind of a shortcut, convenient way to represent that division. But again, when you have a term divided by itself, that's going to equal 1. It doesn't matter if it's a number, doesn't matter if it's a variable, all right? Whenever you have a term divided by itself, that is going to divide out. However, it's very important that you have those terms separated by multiplication. So for instance, here we have 3 times x, right? So you could say, all right, those are going to both divide out. That's why they is just going to equal 1. Now, the misconception here that we have is a lot of students will say, oh, well, why don't I just, these aren't separated by multiplication, but that's equal to 1. Well, the reason being is because these are quantities that we can group as x plus 3 over x plus 3. So you can have an expression divided by an expression. As long as those expressions are exactly the same, they are going to divide by 1. We can say they applied the division property. However, like x plus 9 divided by x plus 3, you cannot now in this case say that's equal to 3, right? You can't say, oh, that's 1 and that divides out, right? And you might say, well, why not? Well, let's try it. Let's see if it works. 2 plus 9, let's use 2 instead of x. 2 plus 9 divided by 2 plus 3. Now, you guys know that answer is 11 over 5, right? 2 plus 9 is 11, 2 plus 3 is 5. But if you were to use your special dividing rules, you would see that answer is 3, which doesn't make any sense, right? So you can see by dividing terms out across addition, it doesn't actually work out that way. So I'm not dividing across addition here or subtraction. What I'm doing is I'm seeing that this is the exact same quantity divided by the exact same quantity. That's why the division equals to 1. So when we are using the cancellation algebraically, what we're doing is we're using what we call the division property. Anything divided by itself is equal to 1. Just make sure you have those terms, expressions separated by multiplication. And again, that's what brings up like really the most important thing that a lot of students have trouble with is factoring. Like x squared minus 3x, let's just do plus 2, divided by x squared, let's see, minus 4x plus 3. Okay, so a lot of students, when they're first learning factoring, they'll go ahead and simplify this and they'll say, oh, the x squared divide out. And you get 3x plus 2 divided by negative 4x plus 3. Well, no, that's not the case. And we already talked about that. That doesn't work. You can't just divide across these two terms, right? So what we can do, though, is factor. And why would we want to factor? Well, when we factor, factoring is writing an expression as a product. And when we have terms separated by multiplication, we can divide them out separately. So let's go ahead and factor this. So this becomes x minus 1 times x minus 2. This becomes x minus 1 times x minus 3. Well, now we have these quantities that are exactly the same, this x minus 1, and they are separated by multiplication. So now we can divide those out, and therefore we get x over 2 over x minus 3. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is how you go ahead and cancel algebraically. Hopefully that helped you guys out. I do see a lot of you guys are adding in the chat. That's awesome. I got the same, x equals 1. Oh, that was your question. Do you have a suggestion on what to study for A-level maths? I do not know as far as a suggestion for what to study. And for what to study. Sorry. I'm just not familiar with the A-level maths curriculum. Nilda, I did see your question as far as proving. I didn't have time to really read through it or really spend a lot of time. Hey, Addie runs in so very late. That's very, no worries, but I appreciate you always joining in. Thank you so much. And I was running a little bit late today too. So that's why I'm going a little bit over from that. But if you can maybe, I just didn't have time to really like dive deep into your question and look at it. But so if there's any other information or pictures that you can provide to me, I'll go ahead and look it up or go ahead and submit it on Discord, and hopefully that will be able to help out. But yeah, I was in a little bit of a rush for sure before this, guys. And so I do apologize. I do thank you guys for submitting your questions. And obviously I can't get to everybody's questions, but for those of you that submitted these questions, I was able to kind of quickly get them in. All right, I'll go and take a look at Hater, your question. Yeah, critique learning by mistakes. There's nothing wrong with that. I got x equals 1. All right, let's go and look at this problem. Good old logarithm problem. I don't have a calculator though, but if you're getting 1, I don't think you are going to need it. So let's look at this. Log base 7 of 4x minus log base 7 of x plus 1 equals 1/2 log base 7 of 4, I believe. All right. What? I just joined? Oh, maybe some people looking. Well, thank you very much, Brooklyn. I am not in any of your classes, but thank you. You are very, very welcome. I'm very happy to be able to help you out. And hopefully you did. I'm glad you got an A+ in your calc. Hopefully, I'm not sure if you're taking college or high school, but if you're taking high school, hopefully you did well on your AP exam. I know it was kind of really odd to have to do the AP exam in that way, but hopefully everything that you had to do prepare for that exam and through the year will serve you very well moving on. All right. Yes, logs. Okay. Discarding is a left-handed. Yes, that is right. How can I study for the ACT? Do the ACT books. I'm not big on the ACT studying or a lot of options for you. So I do apologize for that, but I think there's a lot of resources for studying for the ACT and the SAT. So I would just, maximize that, but also do a lot of studying ahead of time. Do not try to cram in your studying. Try to get a lot of that work done ahead of time. So therefore you can mentally, because I think those tests, students put so much pressure on those tests. And that's what's really been nice actually about having all these tests like at the end of the year. Like students aren't stressed, right? I mean, they had so much stress and so many of these tests. And I know a lot of students want those tests back and everything else, but I'm like, guys, like you got to release so much stress and anxiety of these tests. Like this is one of the worst months of the year because all it is testing, and kids are freaking out. And that's maybe a good thing. I'll talk about that. So I think that is something that we should be happy for. But anyways, the one thing I wanted to mention is that relates to that is to try to get all of that work and preparation ahead of time, because really before you take the SAT or any big test, you want to mentally be prepared and you want to mentally calm yourself down, mentally have yourself prepared. This is not something that you should be studying, doing workbooks the night before the SAT, ACT. So hopefully that helps you out. Destin says, hi, I'm from Barbados, and right now I'm doing angles of depression and elevation, but it's really hard. I need some help. Can you please help me? Yes, angle of elevation is an angle above the horizontal. Angle of depression is an angle below the horizontal. If you're actually looking for help on the word problems, you can, I do have a ton of word problem questions in trigonometry and definitely dealing with angles of depression and elevation. So I would just definitely check those out. And let me know if those help out. All right, let's go and get into this question, guys. Supposedly, please never change. How do you get better at math? All right, so let's go and take a look at this one. The first thing I notice here is the multiple logarithms. And by understanding the multiple logarithms, that's going to tell me that I'm going to want to use my order of operations. So I'll say, my rules of logarithms. So this division here will give me a 4x over x plus 1. Okay, and then over here, I can rewrite this as log base 7 of 4 to the 1/2 power. And just remember 4 to the 1/2 power is the same thing as the square root of 4, right? We actually did that for our derivative. Now I recognize I can use the one-to-one property for logarithms. So when I have a logarithm of the same base equal to a logarithm of the same base, then I can drop the logarithms. So I have 4x over x plus 1 is equal to 4 to the 1/2 power, which is equal to 2. Now if I need to solve for x, I'll multiply by an x plus 1 to get the x off the denominator. Distribute. Subtract the 2x. 2x equals 2, and then divide by 2. X equals 1. So there you go. You were right as far as your number, because I think you had 1 in on there. So very good. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining. I do apologize, but submit those questions in on the Google form. I will make sure that I spend extra time to answer your questions for you. I will have some newer videos coming out. So thank you so much, guys, for your support. If you're interested or want to take a look into the membership, I greatly appreciate that. But again, you can always try it and see if it works out to you. But I will be again live for you guys next Sunday at 9 p.m. And then I'll hope you guys are doing well with the end of the year and your testing. And if you guys are doing any other courses throughout the summer, I will be here going live. Happy to help you guys out. Have a great night, guys, and a great week. I will check in with you next week, Sunday, 9 p.m. Cheers. Ta-da.